This is IBM Museum, and I want to take a deeper look at this IBM 8239 Token-Ring Stackable Hub. I've got the unit closed up. One aspect that I do want to look at is when the unit boots up, of whether it presents the ability to get into that maintenance mode for resetting the password, or whether that reset button on the front panel is just the only way that it's possible to get into that mode. And then once we get into the operational mode, I'm going to get logged in, and I want to look at some of the display menu, being able to look at settings that's on the device. I'm not going to go through and go to the set menu at all. That's going to come later on if I go through and want to change the configuration, and certainly I will want to do that. But let me go through and get turned around. We're going to get switched over to the computer so we can see the information as that comes up on the screen. I'm already set to where I've got COM2 selected for the port, and I've already got the cable attached. So let's go through and start the PuTTY session, and then we're going to go through and plug in. And we do get that DRAM test. When we were doing the reset button, that was the point where, after that DRAM test was completed, is when we were presented with the menu in that instance. But I just want to see, as it goes through and boots up, whether it's going to present any menus. Okay. And it seemed like it just went right through to starting the operational code. So it looks like the reset button on the front panel is the only way to get into that maintenance mode, to be able to reset the password. And of course, that resetting the password, getting into a unit that's been in operation somewhere where you don't know the credentials. You don't have to call into IBM like I found online. And so we're good. We've still got that operational mode password just set to a null value, just admin for the login, the user ID, and a blank password. And normally when it's got the blank password, it shouldn't even present us, it shouldn't even prompt us for the password. Okay. And it's going to go through. If I'm quiet, you can probably hear some clicks as it goes through and tries to determine if there are other hubs that are in that same stack. It's going through and activating the lights on the front here. So we're logged in, and we have the menu in front of us. I want to go through and look at that display option, and to see the values. We looked at the clock the last time, and certainly that's one thing I can look at this time, because I want to see if there's been any drift since I went through and set that clock. Okay, so it's saying 2114. So that looks real close, of course, and it's that Dallas module that's inside there that goes through and shows. Now, I don't know to go through. There's some instances where I want to go through and certain items, like I studied up, and the display inventory, which is number 9, that's for seeing if you've got that expansion of the extra 16 ports, to see if those, make sure that all those optional adapters are recognized on the system. Okay, I didn't want to ping I wanted, because we're not going to, okay. And they said escape goes through and gets you back. Okay. So that's the main menu. We're going to go through, and we're going to go through display, and we're going to go through and 9 for inventory. Maybe there's some timeout that goes through. Okay, and you could do, the way that these hubs are stacked and linked up, you can actually inventory the whole stack going through this process. But there is at the bottom, that ring in, ring out, being that fiber card. There is an optional, I think there's a copper version, or it goes over to a single ring out, ring in, ring out port. That's the different type of optical connector. I think is how it kind of distinguishes that, and it shows that expansion card, that 16-port card, in place as part of the inventory. So that is great. This will go back. Question mark takes us back to the main menu, and as I say, escape, I think is supposed to take you back one step. Let's look at display, the access control list. And that looks empty to me. Now the bottom device there, that number 5, index number 5, that appears to be at least the label that I saw marked on the back of the unit for the name, the host name of this unit. Let's see what escape does, or see if we've gone through a timeout. Okay, escape just brings us back to the menu prompt. So to get the menu to display, it looks like we're just going to step into the display areas. Okay. There's the boot P information. Okay. And display. We already looked at the clock. Let's look at the community. Okay. And we get some IP information of how this was set up. Okay. Display. Counter. Is that the uptime or, okay, no, that's, okay. So 802.5. Okay. Enter to continue, I guess advances to the other screens. Yours. Okay. And I wasn't sure if that was all the information necessarily. The counter. Took my control ring. Okay. Display, counter, and then the last is that that interface selection, number 3. Okay, so this unit being in operation, of course, nothing's connected to it right now, but we could get information out of the unit to what is going on. We could see traffic counters flowing. Okay, event scripts or script. Okay, and we're going to do Well, let's do the index first. Okay. So I'm not just going through this routine of going all the way back to the main menu all the time. And let's do the number 2. Okay. So there's no scripts apparently installed. Let's see. Okay. And that did the display easily enough without having to really necessarily go back to the main menu. Okay, the group, number 7. It looks empty. I pressed it twice. Let's go back to 4. Okay, so we're going to have to go through, feed it the display. Okay, and then 8 for the hub. Okay, or all. I'm not sure of the, I guess this is Hub ID 2, and I'd seen that I think before. It also shows that on the front panel, that LCD, although it's really kind of dim, it's not backlit, kind of a challenge to see. You've got to be right up on it to go through and to see that. Now, let's go back, make sure that we're back at the main menu for the display again. We did the inventory already. Let's look at the IP address. Okay. I'm not necessarily interested in the okay, so you have the ability to go through for all, and we've got that 192.168.163.173, and the gateway of being 174. And it's a subnet mask of ultimately of 4. It's a /30 for subnet at 252, and so the and normally that 4 addresses, that is also the broadcast and the network address as well. So this is down to just the device and the gateway. It's the on one of the available IPs of the one available of the 2 IPs that are for that subnet, and the gateway address being the other that's in that subnet. Okay, we had that ARP item as well, the ARP cache. Okay, and we've got 2 selected for the hub ID. It's enough to know it knows its own hub ID in this case. So the display, and this would probably give the login information. Okay, we're logged in as admin and serial, and then gives the session start information there. Okay, and going through for the management interface, we're going to do all. Okay. And there's all the code version of version 2.8. So some pretty good information there. Also lists the IP address, and the MAC address type is burned in. Okay. And so display, and we want to look at, we're not going to have much of a network map, of course. But this would be neat to go through and to see this when we have some stations connected to it. Okay, display, and the 13 for the network map. Let's go through and do the hub, because we're not going to have any local stations either. We could go through and do the MAC address. Okay. And then let's look at the port information. Okay, enter a hub port. And even for this, it doesn't have a, you notice here it doesn't have a default value selected. No brackets. If we go through for port 1, and I pressed enter, and I don't know why it gave me enter a hub port. Okay. One, two. Okay, hub 1 is not in the control ring table. Oh, okay, hub and port. Okay. If I would think a little bit, you precede it by the, okay, so we go display, we go network map, go to port, and we would do 2.1 for the first port of this hub. Okay, it's not inserted. So this will be, again, one of those neat things to do once we have some stations connected to it, to be able to get those details. Now, some of this is probably going to be a little bit redundant. I'm going to the port. Yeah, it's the same thing. And we do, here it even gives a wildcard values. And for that bracket, it has that 2.0. So this would go through and that's the, you know, the 16 ports that are on the system, and then it has that expansion board of the next 16. So this would be the selection to do, and we have more stations connected. If you want to see what ports the stations are connected to, we would go through and do this selection. So that's kind of cool. We're going to still get into display, ring, I/O. Okay, and again, we have that hubs in the stack is 2 for the default. And those conditions of being enabled and being wrapped. Okay, the Armon. And that's going to be something more that that once we have stations for the arm monitor, and that's the monitoring of the unit. So I don't think that this is going to necessarily present any real data without any stations connected to it. Okay, we have a schedule. Okay, display schedule for, let's go for number 1, all. So, you know, some relatively involved aspects to this. We did, I guess these are different. These are scripts where it's not the same as an event script. Okay. And then security, intruder list. Okay, so this would be some sort of security you could have set up on particular ports, or that it goes through and records MAC addresses of what it regards as a intruder. Okay, so the 20, the stack. Okay, and that gives the uptime and the version, and since we don't have other items in the stack, it would be able to also do, to show those. And so and let's look at information about the terminal. Okay, and that's the serial port settings, and then it has the telnet data as well to that. And I'm trying to remember if this has any web interface to it. And of course, going through, and I was prompted with that question by someone. I showed how I got in, and he asked if I was on the serial connection or the web access, and for web access I'd have to be on a Token-Ring station that was on that network, you know, connected to the hub, and that might be something to try at a later point, just to kind of see what there is to that. I don't know if it's necessarily has the components for a web interface on it. Okay, so there's lots of little details to some of these commands. Okay, no data exist. Okay, we'll do 4. Trap log is what we're up to. And I don't expect that a lot of information's going to be shown in some of this for no stations being attached at the moment. Okay, trap settings. Okay. And so this is, I guess, logging that it goes through and records for the stack of hubs. And then lastly, we're looking at 25 for the wrap points. It's got 2 selected as the default. And there's the information for that. So I don't know. I mean, there's other areas I'll get into on that menu in due time. But I think that was just a nice little run through on the display items and looking at most of them. There's a few entries that we didn't go through. And later on, when I've got some token ring stations I can have connected to there, it's going to be more entertaining to go through there and look at that information at that time. But certainly, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click on that like button and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. Encourage your friends to subscribe. We're past that 900 subscriber mark, on our way to 1,000 subscribers. I like those numbers like that. Hopefully we'll be seeing that steady increase of subscribers as we go through. I'm not going to break 1,000 before the end of the year. I mean, there's not enough time left in all that. That would be 10 subscribers per day, and I'm just not at that level quite yet. But we'll get there. But that's all I have for now. This is IBM Museum. Thank you.